I used to think that summer fishing was a waste of time, scorching heat and more skunk days than I like to admit, let's be honest. But here's the truth. It wasn't the season, it was me. And once I made a few key changes, summer went from my least productive season to one of my most consistent times to catch fish, and some of my biggest ones too. So in this video, I'm breaking down how I stopped sucking at summer fishing, and more importantly, how you can stop too. All right, tip number one, here's a summer move that flat out changed the game for me: punching thick grass mats and lily pads. I used to avoid stuff like that. It looked like a snag factory, but once I dialed into punch rig with a straight shank flipping hook, a pegged 1 ounce weight, and the right compact punching bait, I started pulling fish in where everybody else was striking out. All the usual offshore spots, they were getting hit like a conveyor belt, right? Boat after boat after boat. And the fish, they were shut down. But those thick mats, cooler water, overhead cover, and near zero pressure, I started sliding my rig through the jungle and yanking out bass that nobody else was touching. It's not easy, it's not clean, but it's a high percentage once you commit to it. Tip number two, I stopped power fishing all day. When I started summer fishing, I went full throttle all day, burning spinner baits, ripping chatter baits, walking top waters. It's called power fishing, fast moving baits that cover water quickly and trigger reaction bites. It can work, especially early mornings or right before dark, but when that sun climbs and the heat sets in, bass get sluggish. That's when I shift gears and learn finesse fishing, which is the exact opposite. It's slower, more subtle, more precise. Think a drop shot, a Ned rig, a shaky head, or a Texas rig dragged slowly across the bottom. Power fishing is about speed and aggression. Finesse is about patience and control. I didn't stop power fishing altogether, but I stopped relying on it when it wasn't the right move. And once I made that switch in the heat of the day, my summer catch rates went way up. Tip number three, I started fishing deeper. For years, I stayed tight to the bank because, hey, cover you can see, right? Laydowns, docks, grass lines. That's where I spent 95% of my time. But here's the thing I learned the hard way. A lot of your bigger summer bass aren't on the bank. They pushed offshore, chasing bait and hanging out in cooler, deeper water where there's less pressure. We're talking ledges, brush piles, humps, and channel swings. Now, I fished some lakes around me for years, and one day it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was literally driving over the biggest bass in the lake just to go cast at the smallest ones. No joke, I was passing up deep, unpressured giants just to go beat the bank like everyone else. And what changed the game for me was adding electronics. I run a GARMIN UHD 92 SV, and once I started using side imaging, it was like night and day. I could finally see offshore structure, brush piles, rock piles, bait schools, and I stopped fishing blind. If you're thinking about getting into electronics, make sure that unit has side scan. Down scan and 2D sonar are helpful, but side imaging, woohoo, that is the cheat code for finding those deeper fish. Now, I'm not saying you can't catch bass shallow. You absolutely can. But if you're chasing big girls in the heat of the summer, deeper is often better. All right, tip number four, I follow the shade and the wind. So in the heat of the summer, bass just don't vanish, right? They hide. I used to overlook that. I fished wide open banks under the blazing sun, wondering why nothing was biting. Then I started targeting the shade lines, the docks, overhanging trees, laydowns. Now when you add wind into the mix, it's even better, right? Wind pushes plankton, the bait fish follow, it increases the oxygen levels, and especially when it's blowing into a shaded shoreline, that combo is prime real estate. But here's what I didn't know at first. Not all wind-blown banks are created equal. It takes time for that system to settle in. You guys can't show up the second the wind shifts and expect bass to be stacked up. You got to give it time. You got to watch how it sets up and then fish it smart. Now, if you want to go deeper into the science of why wind matters in bass fishing, I actually made a full-length video on that and share how long it actually takes that to set up. I'll reference it at the end of this video, and trust me, it'll change the way you read the water. I used to ignore these subtleties, now I chase them. Now, tip number five, I use the Deep Dive app religiously. I've been using the Deep Dive app for years, and honestly, it's the best tool that I recommend, especially for beginner novice anglers looking to step up their game. Now, summer fishing isn't random, it's predictable if you know where to look. And this app, it helps you look in all the right places. You plug in your location, your water clarity, your depth, your temperature, and it gives you the bait and color selections, structure types, seasonal tips, and more, all hyper specific to your body of water. But it doesn't stop there. You get wind direction maps, feeding times based off the moon phases, water clarity overlays, stream flow data, tournament winning patterns, even a bait tool that helps you choose the best profile for the conditions. It's like having a local fishing guide and research team in your pocket. And if you're not using it, you're leaving fish on the table. I'll drop a link in the description. You can also find it as the first pinned comment below. Seriously, check this out. All right, tip number 6, I dialed in the timing. One of the biggest changes I made was fishing during the best windows, not just whenever I had a free minute. Now I know not everyone has the flexibility to drop everything and go when the bite turns on, but if you do have some flexibility in your schedule, this is a big advantage. And there's a ton of solid data out there to help guide you. I started paying attention to the major and minor feeding windows. Now, most of this data comes from Lunar charts, but you can also pull it from the Deep Dive app. It's all about stacking the odds in your favor. You don't have to be on the water all day. You just need to be out there when the conditions say the fish are going to be active. Now, once I started using this kind of info to time my trips, I caught more fish in less time and had a whole lot less frustration. All right, now tip number 7, I upgraded my positioning game. For the longest time, I just pulled up to a spot, started casting, and hope for the best. No real thought to how I was positioned. But I've learned that where and how you set up, especially in a kayak or from the bank, makes a huge difference. Positioning impacts your casting angles, it impacts how your bait moves through that strike zone, and whether or not you're spooking fish even before your lure hits the water. And one of the biggest things that I changed, I started fishing into the sun whenever possible, so I wouldn't cast a shadow over the area I was targeting. Fish are extremely sensitive to shadows, especially in shallow or clear water. And why? Because for most of their life, shadows meant danger. You got birds, herons, hawks, kingfishers. They've all been trying to eat them since they were fry. So now I think like a predator, and you have to start thinking more like a predator too. Getting smart with your positioning means more stealth, more natural presentations, and a lot more bites. Tip number 8, I got stealthy, really stealthy. One of the most underrated skills in fishing, especially in the summer, is stealth. Whether you're in a kayak, a boat, or even wade fishing, fish are highly aware of what's happening around them. It's not just about what they see, it's about what they feel. Bass have a lateral line, a built-in sensory system that detects subtle vibrations and pressure changes in the water. And if you believe that they can feel your lure moving through the water, then they can absolutely feel your trolling motor pulsing, your pedal drive grinding, that clunk of a paddle hitting your kayak, or even you sloshing through the water. I used to overlook this thinking, it's not that loud. But once I started slowing down, minimizing noise, and approaching each spot like I was stalking a deer, I started catching way more fish. And the big ones who have more years of experience with anglers and understanding their environment, they will be the first ones to spook. Stealth isn't optional, it's critical. Look, at the end of the day, summer fishing doesn't have to suck. You just have to fish smarter. From understanding seasonal behavior and feeding windows to dialing in position, bait selection, and stealth, it's all about stacking the odds in your favor. I made a ton of mistakes early on, but once I made these changes, I started catching more fish, bigger fish, and having way more fun on the water. So if you got a tip that helped you stop sucking at summer fishing, drop it in the comments. I love to hear it. Seriously, we are all learning. Let's help each other out. If you want to dive deeper into why wind plays such a huge role in summer fishing success, check out that video right there. I break it all down in detail. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.